Well, you've had a chance to review what God says about the issue of suicide. And now we want to talk about it on what I'll call a more practical level. What are some things you can say and do in regards to these things? And we're thankful to be joined today by Mrs. Amy Glisper. Amy is a mental health professional. She serves at Atonement Lutheran School as a part of our team, as sort of a guidance counselor for the young men and women, as well as for some of the staff. So, Amy, what are some things that you could say to a person who's having suicidal thoughts? What would you recommend?
So I would actually back it up a little bit just to talk about what are some warning signs.
Okay. Yeah.
So I would look for if someone says something like, I don't want to be here anymore. I can't do this anymore. This earth would be better off without me. Things like that. And then go toward a clarifying question because sometimes people just say things off the cuff and they don't really mean like they don't want to be here, but they might be frustrated in their situation. So you just want to say, what do you mean by when you say, I don't want to be here anymore? What do you mean by that? And then either they'll express frustration over their situation, or they'll continue on saying, this is just too much. I can't do it. I don't want to be here. I don't think I can handle it anymore. And then you can go ahead and ask the question, very straightforward, are you thinking about ending your life? You're never going to give somebody the idea of committing suicide. They've already been thinking about it. And so it just gives you and them the opportunity to start that conversation. So saying, hey, are you thinking about ending your life? They'll say yes or no, and the conversation will evolve from there. But at that point is when you offer yourself as a source of support. It's okay if you don't know what to do. Is there anyone else you can talk to about this? Have you felt like this before? Maybe give them some resources. But the biggest thing is to really just be that listening ear and offer, hey, maybe you want to talk to the pastor or a therapist. There's no shame in it.
Yeah. Great thoughts. If I could follow up on a thought in there, is it normal for people to have fleeting thoughts of suicide? Is that sort of a normal thing? My guess is that it is, but am I right? Am I wrong?
I think not everyone experiences that, but yes, I would say that it's very common for people to think, oh, if I just wasn't here, everything would be so much easier. Where it becomes a concern is when they're really starting to think about how they would end their life. And, that's when you want to look for those signs and really be a support and address it straight on.
So when you are talking to that person who has just told you, yeah, I'm actually thinking about this. I'm thinking about suicide. I've thought about ways to do it. How are you addressing them? I know you said, hey, talk, who else can you talk to? Who have you talked to? What are some other things that you're saying to them at that point?
There's the crisis line, suicide crisis line, where they can call 988 and talk to somebody. Sometimes people don't want to talk to anybody that they really know, right? Because maybe they have feelings of guilt about it, or they don't want to tell them exactly how they're feeling. So 988 offers a non-biased person to talk to, another mental health professional that can help them through what they're struggling with. If there is someone, and this does happen, if someone is adamant about it and they have made that decision that they're going to end their life and they know how they're going to do it, and they leave your presence, you can call the police and say, hey, someone I know is planning on killing themselves. Here's where they are. And police will ask for more information and they will go intervene. If it actually comes to fruition and someone does end up ending their own life, you've done your due diligence. You've done what you could.
Yeah, and we made the point in the earlier video that at the end of the day, the guilt is on the person who committed the act, not on the people who are
Right.
around them. And that's easy to say. It's hard to
Right.
hard to believe,
Absolutely.
and but to know that is really really important. So thank you for making that point. Um, What if you've been exposed to a suicide, a family member, friend, coworker, something like that,
Mm.
and it's got you disturbed and frustrated and bothered, etc. What are some practical pieces of advice you would give to them in order to move forward?
So I would say keep talking, encourage them to keep talking about their feelings. It's really important not to hold those feelings in. Um, Writing their feelings down. This is especially important when the suicide has just happened, when it's still fresh. Talk about their feelings. What are they struggling with? Again, go to someone, another trusted person that you can talk to, whether it's your pastor or a therapist, or again, the crisis line is not just for people who are thinking about suicide, but it's also for people who know others who have or have been exposed to someone who has ended their life. So, just again, being that good listening ear and offering those resources to somebody.
So, what about the person who says to you, I just don't feel comfortable talking about these sorts of things to anyone, or you
Hmm.
just get that impression? How do you advise them to deal with it?
I
Because there
just,
are just some people
yeah,
just say, I don't talk about that stuff, and I won't.
absolutely. And I will say, okay, I get it. This is a tragic thing that has happened. And it is hard to talk about those feelings because we have to feel them, right?
Mhm.
It's a lot of times it's easier just to push them down. But doing that for a long period of time will actually end up hurting you. And so I encourage them, okay, I understand that you don't want to talk about it, but maybe write about it. But not addressing it at all is not going to be healthy for anyone.
And if I could add just a pastoral thought to it, this is
Hmm.
a good place to talk to God about it. If
Absolutely.
you don't want to talk to any other person about
Yep.
it, God's got this listening ear that's there all the time.
All the time. And I encourage people to go to God, lean on God. He is the only one that's going to give you the comfort and support that you truly need. And He knows. He's always knows what you're feeling and thinking, even if you don't. Sometimes you don't even know how to express your words to other people, but God knows what's in your heart and He can hear it even if you can't say it.
Great thoughts. I got some post traumatic stress disorder training back some time ago in ministry. And one of the things that we were encouraged to talk to people about after the death of a loved one was make sure you're eating well, make
Hmm.
sure you're doing your best to get a proper amount of sleep, be very careful how much alcohol you're using, et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm.
I'm assuming those would be good pieces of advice for
Abs-
people at this situation too.
Absolutely. Keep taking care of yourself. And then again, for loved ones, if we could go back your initial question of what do you do if someone expresses they want to end their own life, also look for those warning signs of people who are isolating and not no longer doing things that they normally did that were fun, or being out and about, or eating, like just keeping an eye on people, especially when the suicide is still fresh and new, and that grief is still very strong.
Yeah, that grief is going to be really strong in most of those
Yeah.
cases. Yes, is that
Yeah, absolutely. Because the normal course of life is someone gets old and then they die,
hmm
right? That's normal. Or people get really sick and it may be terminal and then they pass away. You kind of prepare and plan yourself
Yeah,
for these things, but a suicide is hugely traumatic and sometimes unexpected.
yeah.
Sometimes people talk about it and eventually it happens, but you really don't ever plan for it. And so the grief is going to be so intense, and it's super important to address it right away as it's happening.
But also to know it's not going to be like a microwave oven fix, that it's
Correct.
going to take some time, and that if
Absolutely.
people are feeling sadness, sorrow, even depressing kind of
Hmm.
thoughts, that's fairly normal, and
Very
to not
normal.
think that they're like losing it.
Right. And also important to know that grief although it's not, it doesn't maintain its intensity, it can creep up on you at times when you least expect it, and that is also normal.
Yeah, that is
And that
so
could be
true.
years down the road. A smell, a sound, something someone says, a song, whatever. It can hit you, and the grief will come back. So normal, and
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah, so that's a great point. I've talked to people and said you're going to be at the grocery store looking for salt, and all of a sudden you're going to start crying,
Right.
and you're going
Oh,
to
the
feel like
Martin salt.
right, and that they're going. You're going to think that
Yeah.
somehow you're mentally losing it. Now,
No.
I'm kind of convinced that God allows our grief to come out in bits and pieces often. I don't know if it's always, but often He allows it to come out in little bits and pieces, so that it doesn't overwhelm us.
Right.
That if it came out all at once, that it might be overwhelming.
And it's physically necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus himself went to the graveside of Lazarus and cried.
Right.
So it's okay for us to cry our tears too, for sure,
Which
sure.
is another another thing to remember too, that if you feel like you don't have anyone to talk to, that God also knows, like the experience has been had. Anywhere that we step, God's already been. So,
That's a great point. Yep. Who was made like his brothers in every way
yeah.
and understands our life and our experiences. Excellent, excellent point. If you're going to try to help a family who's experienced a suicide, what are some things that you could do for them? What are some things you could say to them on a practical basis that could help?
Again, being that non-judgmental listening ear. We're human, and sometimes, we might be angry or they might be angry, and it's easy to feed into that and to get stuck in that. But being a non-judgmental listening ear, reflecting what you see or hear. So saying things like, wow, wow, you are really struggling right now. I can see you're really struggling. How are you feeling about this? What have you been thinking about since this happened? And also, giving them the opportunity to remember the person. What are some good memories that you have of this person?
Yeah,
Because another thing that I do too with people who are experiencing grief, whether it's through suicide or a natural death, is helping them remember that person, because it's good to talk about them in good and fun and loving ways. So helping them to do that too, just asking, well, what are some good things that you remember about that person?
Great thoughts, and I love the positive approach that you just gave. Talk to me about some of the fun memories. Talk to me about some of the things you cherish,
Right.
because that helps, I think, in the healing process for sure. So good. Is there any last words that you would like to share with people?
Sure. In the case of suicide, it is natural for us to kind of retreat and not want to talk about it because it's such a hard subject. But I encourage anyone who, if someone comes to you and wants to talk about it, just have the conversation. Don't shy away from saying the word suicide or saying the words ending your life or asking questions around that, because like I said before, they've already thought about it. You're not going to help them make that decision. But also just, we don't always know, right? We don't always know if we've never experienced something or we're not trained in dealing with something like this. You don't have to be perfect in it. Because that's where that guilt comes from.
Yep.
If I had only said this or
Yep.
done this or been better at this, you just be a listening ear and supportive. And if you don't know, you don't know. So point them in the direction of people who do.
Yeah,
God,
great.
a therapist, a pastor, someone who is better equipped.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
And just one more thing.
Go ahead.
And if you are someone who is thinking about committing suicide, know that God has you here for a purpose. And taking this struggle that you're experiencing now into your own hands is taking God's power away from him. And that's not our place.
Yeah, amen. And you also don't know what's going to happen next week, next month, next year,
Right.
and how God can use you in just wonderful, very, very cool ways.
Right.
So great thoughts. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Amy. We pray that the video is a blessing for you. If you have questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to myself or to reach out to Mrs. Glisper. If you have questions for Mrs. Glisper, I can pass them along. Otherwise, her email address can be found on our school website as well.